Alright, let's go for a walk and see what we can see down here. I started both at the same time. I started riding and carpentry at 12 years old. So essentially I've got like 38 years experience. I'm 49. I'll be 50 next July. This is 2025. A lot of my experience is woodworking. I've had woodworking jobs, probably half a dozen of them or so. And I've kind of bounced back and forth from woodworking to carpentry, you know, working in a factory to working on site, working in a dusty shop to going on site. And actually the job I have now is kind of a cool hybrid of that, where we build the stuff in the shop, but we'd go and do the installs as well. And so that's been really awesome. But the downside is I still spend a lot of my time sanding, and it really is unfortunate, and it really is a drain on my spirit. Like, I don't get to use my creative juices, and it's really the saving grace is I can listen to YouTube videos, pop in earbuds, and just really plow through some shows while I'm working. So I'm essentially getting paid to learn. So it's kind of like I'm in a YouTube apprenticeship currently. And we do build some awesome stuff. We have some high dollar projects, the largest projects I've ever been a part of, for household names, a lot of big corporation household names that you would recognize. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to share any of that because I had to sign a non-compete, non-disclosure agreement, which is somewhat standard in the industry. But yeah, the things I've learned working in wood shops is that there's a lot of variation in the layout of the shop, in the equipment of the shop, the lighting, and how much people care about safety. And so, you know, I've worked in, like I said, at least half a dozen wood shops, and I've worked for probably at least 10 different builders, if not 15. So I've had well over 20 jobs in my experience over the years, and that really helps me to see when stuff is lacking at certain places. It's definitely been a challenge finding people that care about the employees or the workers, because a lot of, you know, business is business, and they're there to make money. They're not there to provide the best workplace for the employee. But when you can find a place that cares about you, that's to me when it's worth sticking around. You know, you want to find some place that has benefits, ideally, that's a little bit easier to find in a woodworking shop environment than in a job site. When you're doing carpentry on site, a lot of times you're a 1099 independent contractor working as a quote-unquote sub. So I spent a lot of my time subbing for bigger contractors. I was a trim carpenter mainly. I always liked trim carpentry more because I didn't like working outside in the winter. I started as a framer. We framed houses and pole barns mainly. We would do about one house a year, a lot of pole barns. And so I learned a lot of the whole process building pole barns. You get into roofing and concrete, insulation, and basically I learned all of the things that I don't want to do, because there's a lot of crap jobs in construction. Working in a wood shop, you're out of the weather, but then you're in the dust. So the downsides to that are, how good is the dust collection system in the shop you're working at? How good is the environment as far as being around finish? I was in this one wood shop where they made their own barn wood, and they stained it there in the shop. And the way they stained it is they had a 12-foot trough that they filled with stain, and then we dipped the 12-foot pieces in the trough of stain, took them out, and then squeegeed the extra stain off them with an air gun that had a bunch of different holes in it. It was like it worked like an air squeegee, but you're basically vaping stain. The smell was ridiculously strong, even with a respirator. It was just horrible. And that, thankfully, I only had to do that maybe once a month, not very often, but on those days it was just horrid, man. So like, that shouldn't even be legal. You should not have open vats of stain just going up into the air, because it would affect that whole part of the shop. You know, like it travels in the air to all the people that are working around you. So depending on the shop and what you're making, I was working in a automotive shop one time building the Chevy SSR convertible pickup truck, and I was right next to the welding line, and even though I was on the engine line, I was next to the welding line, and the welding smoke obviously travels through the air, and it was just so horrible that, you know, my allergies would just go crazy and my nose would close up and I wouldn't be able to breathe that well. It was not an ideal environment to be in. So being on site and being a carpenter that travels to different places, that always paid better. So I would end up getting out of the shop and going back out to working on site. A lot of the woodworking jobs that I had paid like $12 to $16 an hour. And then when you did carpentry on site, it was more normal to be getting like $20 an hour. So I was at $20 an hour as a trim carpenter and a remodeler for well over a decade, probably like 15 years. It took a really long time. It wasn't until around COVID time that I actually got up into the $30 and $40 an hour range. From 2007 to 2013, I ran my own business in Cincinnati, where I specialized in trim carpentry, cabinet installation, and custom composite decks. So probably over half of my business was composite Trex decks, and I charged $60 an hour. Now that's my business rate, including my overhead and profit, so I didn't see all that money. You know, some of that went into 30% right off the bat goes into taxes. But if I needed a helper at all, that would include my helper's wage. A lot of times I would hire a guy for $20 an hour, and on some of the bigger jobs I did, you know, I had a couple guys working for me, and then I got to the point where I started three new decks in one day. And some of the larger decks I had 3 guys working for me, and I just noticed that the more expensive the deck and the bigger the project, I wasn't making any more money. I just had more money going out to other people. So the problem I had was running my own business was scalability. If you were a landscaping company, you wouldn't expect a landscaping company to survive with one mower, one truck and trailer, and one employee. No, they have several crews. And the scalability is really important, because I did the one-man band thing. These days they call it a solopreneur, and you cannot get rich as a solopreneur. It's not going to happen. You're going to need a team of people. So scalability is really important. Like, even if you're, you know, running a beauty salon, you have multiple chairs in that beauty salon that you rent out so that you have other people doing the work even when you're not there. You know, you still have to pay for the overhead of the rent and the electricity for the lights and the maintenance of the equipment, the purchase of the equipment to begin with. And so, like, even as a therapist, I have a therapist in my family, and if you're just a solopreneur in running the office and seeing all the clients and everything, it's a treadmill that you're never going to get rich on, because you need to own an office with multiple offices in it so that you can lease out space so that other people can be seeing clients and giving you a cut of that. Because if you can't scale your business, it's just a dead end road. So I've had to learn that the hard way. I was trying to be a control freak, I guess, and have full control over everything. And at the end of the day, I was wearing all the hats, but I wasn't really seeing the benefits from that. You know, when I ran my own business in Cincinnati for 7 years, I developed the website, I took the leads in, and I called the customers, I went and met with the customers, I did the bids and the contracts, and I did all the work. I ran to the supply house to get the supplies, or even better yet, I would order the supplies and have them delivered to site, which for decks, that's mandatory. You'll wear yourself out going to pick out a whole deck package full of lumber from Menards just because you want all the straight pieces. Better yet, you just order 10 to 20% more material than what you need, and just send the bad stuff back, which is what I ended up doing later on. I've worked for some bigger companies in Grand Rapids as a deck builder, and I was actually leading crews. And again, when you're working for other people, the thing is you're either working towards somebody else's vision or you're working towards your own vision. And if you're not working towards your own vision, you're always going to be stuck tied to dollars for hours. And if I was going to get rich working dollars for hours, it would have happened after 35 years. And let me tell you, it hasn't. I still drive a truck that's 24 years old which is at the mechanic right now. And so instead of riding today on this beautiful day, we're out recording videos and working on my own stuff. You know, I'm working on my own vision of becoming a YouTuber, trying to come up with problems that I can solve for other people. I can help other tall riders find a ride that is going to elevate their joy and expand their freedom and increase their sense of adventure in this world. And I can help carpenters who have decided they want to learn this trade. I can help them accelerate that by sharing my years of wisdom with them. So that's what I'm working on. I'm working on trying to get my ideas out onto paper and then into video and send them to you, and starting doing consulting so that I can be available one-on-one to answer people's questions, and even start an online community so that we can get people together and have a mastermind and figure out what's the best way for us all to reach our goals the fastest without just spinning on a treadmill and not getting anywhere, because I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And you know, I'm creeping up on 50 years old. I still feel 30 in my mind, and thank goodness my body still operates pretty well. But tell you what, standing in the same spot for 8 hours sanding aluminum with a respirator on, or sanding MDF and just having to suck dust all day long, I'm telling you what, that's not doing anything good to my body. And at the end of the day, I'm more sore standing in one spot for 8 hours a day than I would have been out building a deck, carrying heavy deck lumber, wearing a 15-pound tool belt. And my muscles are not getting stronger when I'm working less, and thankfully I have full benefits. But I'm working towards a vision now, and I'm trying to share that vision with you guys, and I'm trying to help with whatever knowledge I can pass along. I really appreciate every one of you. You know, please like and subscribe. The best thing you can do is leave a comment. The algorithm really seems to push videos harder if the more comments it has. If you're not on TikTok, I'm on TikTok. I'm already up to 300 followers on TikTok and 77 on YouTube. So I'm actually growing faster there, which is really, well, it is what it is. But I had sworn off TikTok. I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm done. You know, I've tried Instagram, don't really care for it. I've been on Facebook since the beginning, and that just seems to do nothing for me. It's not really a platform where I feel like I'm ever going to see success on. But YouTube is where I'm all in. Instagram, I have a presence there, but a lot of it is just my AI art that I make. Part of me is an artist, part of me is a woodworker, part of me is a contractor, part of me is a helicopter pilot. I actually learned how to fly a helicopter in 2004, right before my oldest was born. And part of my plans art is to buy a Robinson R44 helicopter at some point and be able to make a business out of that. I have big plans. I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish, but what it comes down to is I need the funding in order to accomplish these things. You know, I'm planning on having a moto van and be able to travel around to all these cool places. I live in Michigan. At the very least, I want to see all the cool places in Michigan. I don't have to go all the way across the U.S. in order to enjoy all the beauty that there is in this world. I just want to be able to see my own state. So I'm going to keep bringing you guys content with Bowdeerides, with all of the gas and electric vehicles that I get to have experiences on. But I'm also going to have bowdeebuilds, which is my carpentry, woodworking, cabinet making, and furniture building content. And then I'm also going to have bowdeeexperiences, where I get to share other wild, unique theme park, you know, zip lines, water slides, bridges, tunnels, like anything unique. I'm gonna share there. So stay tuned. Appreciate all of your guys' watching to this point, and whatever you'd like to see more of, drop a comment, let me know. I'm open. I'm still in the ideation phase at this point, trying to figure out what's the best way to as far as sharing, you know, School of Hard Knocks type wisdom that I've gained across the years. So again, appreciate each and every one of you, and enjoy the ride. See ya.